Hello, good afternoon. It's great to be here, and even more so to be here for such a special topic. And having listened formally before to Mrs. Professor Gervini's talk, it was very enlightening already. I like to look at this fascinating material today, which is light, from a very different angle. I would like to ask you beforehand, however, how do you see light? Do you experience light? Do you appreciate it? And if you do so, by what means? I would like to ask you all, very briefly, to make a test with me. And I would like you to answer for yourself and very honestly, for yourself and for me, how much of light do you experience during the day? How do you actually see it? How much time do you spend on seeing the light? From a 1 to a 10. A 4, somebody, maybe, a 6. Is there somebody who has an idea how much you see light? 7, that's a lot, I think. That's really great. 7 is a lot because it means of experiencing it individually in a really great way. I'm really sure that if I would ask you all, we would come somewhere in between a 4 and a 9, maybe, of you all experiencing light. Because we see light individually, and it's a bit like colors. Everybody sees them differently. I would like to challenge your perception of light today by actually showing you artists who exactly analyze, who work with light to make us change the way we see. Light, and I think we all agree on this one, light is so essential to our day-to-day life, to our survival actually, because without light, we are incapable of seeing colors, spaces, forms, shapes, space, and even spatial dimensions. So light is essential for anything we do in daily life. And we are even so fortunate. In most countries all over the globe, we are free to access light whenever we want. We have it. We can switch it on, we can switch it off. We have it whenever we need and whatever our daily chores dictate us when we need light. Is that healthy? I am not so sure. However, we have the light, we have the artificial light, which is a great deed for our daily survival. Have you ever thought, however, how short normally our perception of natural daylight is coming here? Natural daylight is so important. It's important to our biological rhythm. It regulates everything we do. But do you ever see it? Days and nights in the offices, at homes, with artificial light, we often don't see natural daylight because in the end it is our needs, our daily needs, that dictates the way we see light. Okay. Natural daylight is coming often very short, also because we are living in a very hectic lifestyle. But how do we see things then? Actually, we don't. We don't see things anymore with our sense of perception, with our sense of our eyes. It is our brain that has magazined it in the back of our heads, and we know how a car looks, how a house looks, how a space looks. So light is often really having very big shortcomings in our day-to-day perception. Maybe we see light most when we just don't have it, when it's absent, and when we need to squint our eyes, and we need to focus on, is there anything? Can we see anything? That is sometimes when we notice most the qualities of light when it's not around. I would like to really look with you now at 4 different artists, incredible artists, who have made the investigation, the research into light, their artistic research, their life indeed. Let us start with this artist. She is Parisian-based Italian artist Rossella Belushi. She's a photographer. She works mainly with photography to make us see the material light and to change our perception in the way we are seeing. What are you seeing? You might be seeing a figure, but that figure is being consumed by light. by the strength of the light. It is annihilated by the light. So one material takes another shape. Light is taking over the form of the figure. Let's look at these images instead. These are very exciting images. And here we really see that, Rossella Belushi is working on the material qualities of light. I want you to take the time and to focus at least 6 to 8 seconds only on that image. And I want you to tell me what you see. What is it? Is it a figure? It's a person? What is that person doing? It's walking, doesn't it? Doesn't it seem like this person is walking? Isn't that person moving? But how can this person be moving on a flat plane? Obviously, this person cannot be moving. So what is moving here? That is so exciting. It is the retina of your eye that is moving constantly because you can't fix on that flat surface. It's impossible to find a point of reference on that flat surface. So your retina is moving constantly, trying to find some relief, trying to understand what is happening in this image. So the retina sends back the signals to the brain and says there's something happening, something is moving, even though it is not. So it's actually very exciting. And through this photography, Rossella Belushi is mimicking what light is actually doing. Light is moving constantly, all the time. It's a fluid material, and it dazzles our eyes. So here, through the material of light, she investigates the qualities of light, and she makes us painfully, actually, experience the qualities. Because it's difficult, it puts us in despair, it puts us in difficulties to look at these images, which seems to be moving, but it's not. So she replicates the effects of light in these images. Let's look at some other research, which is not anymore on a two-dimensional plane, but in a space. Here we are looking at the artist James Turrell. James Turrell from Pasadena is one of the great light artists of the 60s and 70s. He was a member and a founder and a member of the Californian group of Light and Space Movement, a very important figure in light art. What is really interesting in this environment we are seeing, this is a walk-in experience field. We have no shapes, no forms, no objects, not even a focus the visitor can actually look at. We have what? A field of light, a field of color. So James Turrell is very important because his sole medium of artistic research is light, and it's also the object and the subject of everything he does. He works with artificial light and also with natural light. Let's look at this experience. Isn't that strange? People are in a space, and it's rather undefined. People are invited into a spatial arena, spatial field of color of undefined strengths of light. They are attracted by the strong light, so they come closer and they move into it. After a while, within these spaces, the visitor seems to feel weightless. There is no point of reference. The visitor doesn't know where to orientate on, what to look at. So the visitor feels some discomfort and feels rather lost in the end. In the worst case, the visitor loses his sight and experiences a sense of temporal blindness. These installations by the artist James Turrell are called Gansfeld. Gansfeld effect is very exciting, and I don't know if you have ever experienced it. Maybe if you are a pilot, or if you are a skier, or if you are an Arctic explorer, you might have experienced this effect. The Gansfeld effect, which James Turrell tries to recreate here in these closed environment, walk-in light experiences, replica what a pilot might see in a fog in a dense fog of light. What an Arctic explorer might see when there is an undefined field of light and of color, which doesn't give our retina, our eyes, any rest, and we don't know what to focus on. This sends actually an error command to the brain. And the brain says, no, I can't see this anymore. I don't see this anymore. And the person goes in temporal blindness. It sends a shock to the brain. So that is a very interesting experience. James Turrell tries to recreate here in actually, as he said, making us seeing ourselves see. And I think here we do see ourselves see. Don't you agree? Another experience, outside this experience, outside the closed environment, is obviously natural daylight. Artists have always looked at natural daylight to explore our vision, how we experience natural daylight. Here we have a colleague of James Turrell, Robert Irwin, also of that famous American group. What is this? Would you believe me? This is a museum. This is a famous Panzer collection in Varese in Italy, one of the most important ones for light art in Italy. And this is an artwork. This is a site-specific opening of a room to let daylight in, to make the visitor in a museum experience focus on what's happening in the atmospheres outside, how the atmospheres are changing, and how actually it influences also the interior of the room. So it's not only that the artist has placed light and daylight and a focus on daylight into a museum experience for us to focus on, but also how that light actually changes the indoors. Also, James Turrell has a couple of site-specific installations in the Villa Panza in Varese, very important. And here we have a small lunette at the end of the corridor. And you can see it's cut out and it lets daylight in. And the daylight comes in differently, obviously, at the beginning, then at dawn, at night, throughout the day. And it changes outside and makes us focus on that light source, which is natural day. But in this case, it is actually also the natural light that interacts with that corridor. That corridor, which is has artificial lighting. So we have two light sources which are interacting here. It's a natural light and it's a corridor that changes its entire color scheme and the entire spatial relationship we feel within that room. More of James Turrell still. James Turrell here doesn't exercise anymore in the realm of a museum, but exercises in the outdoors. So how to compete with outdoor light? How to make us see outdoor light? This is a fantastic installation of his, and it's called Sky Space. Sky Space. Let's look at the sky. And it is an installation made only to look at the sky. We have a wonderful round in the top of the roof of that installation, and we can sit down and we can admire the light outside, how it changes, how it interacts. But it doesn't only interact with the outside, so we can look at how it changes, but it looks with the inside of the room. These are experiences which we should at least experience for at least 30 minutes. It takes time, because these are spaces to contemplate and to find ourselves, rather magic places where we ask ourselves of where we stand in the universe in relation to what's happening outside. So light becomes some kind of magic, it becomes some kind of ritual, it becomes some kind of religious or spiritual element as well. Here we have Dan Flavin. Again, another installation you find in the Villa Panza in Varese in Italy. Dan Flavin, a great light artist, working with neon light all his life through, has given something more to light than we have seen with the former artists. He articulates our way of seeing light within a room we can actually walk in. We can see, we can actually manage ourselves And he always has seen light as something spiritual, like the last step of life, the first and the last step. And you can see that in this installation by Dan Flavin. Importantly here is that the visitor can actually manage it itself. This is the last installation, also by Dan Flavin, and it's just out here. It's just in the suburbs of Milan. And it's the last installation he finished 2 days before his death. Well, it's kind of telling, but it's not. He was thinking very spiritual about light, not about the church necessarily. Here we have a light installation that occupies the entire space of a church. So he filled different parts of the church with different lights, going from blue to pink to yellow, and helping the visitor to imagine a different walk through light from dusk to dawn and again to daylight. So it is very important how the visitor experiences the church, but mostly important it is that this visitor in the different parts of the church creates his own way of seeing. So Dan Flavin doesn't impose his light, but leaves it all to our imagination to create our feelings, our emotions within this space. So in this space, the visitor is free to feel. And it is a call upon you, really, and about what I said right in the beginning, how much you do see. How much do we see light? I have seen this church with people in them, with religious people in them, with believing people in them. And I can tell you, this light really helps people to perceive some kind of spiritual form, not with something above there, but with themselves. And it's about a relationship between you and the light, and between you and what you see. So all of the artists are actually about seeing light, about going into our own feelings, and about the perception. I would like to ask you from now onwards how much you will see. Actually, now I'm curious about how much you will actually see in the future. And I hope you will see much more, and I hope you will actually let the magic of light into you. So open your eyes. Thank you.